Yo, what's going on, Myles?
Hey, Brian. Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
Thanks, man. Thanks. That's exciting. I'm so excited to, I don't know, like to do. I wish weekends meant something around here.
Yeah.
Weekends,
What you make of them.
weekends have never meant anything to me, man, because because I've always worked in the restaurant industry, and so like weekends basically meant like, hey, your week's just getting fucking started. Like your busiest days are today and tomorrow, and good luck getting Sunday off. So,
but more tips, right? More tips at weekends and on Fridays where it's busier.
Quantity over quantity, big time.
I
wouldn't say quality.
So might be getting lots of tips today, maybe. So you never know.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Some guy in front of the post office was asking me for money, and I was just like half asleep, and I just like couldn't even acknowledge him, and I felt, and then like I got in my car and drove away and felt bad. I was like, why? At what point in life do you start feeling bad about not giving homeless people money? Apparently, this point in life.
There we go.
Get in the car and drive away as fast as possible, because if you don't, then you end up just giving them everything in your pocket. It's like I would walk up to Myles and say, "You promised me you're going to use this on alcohol, right? Like I don't want you going to buy a new tie or going, trying to save up for an apartment or something. I want to make sure that you're going to get drunk tonight, and it's on me." Is that the wrong?
Well, I think one of the jokes I heard just the other day from one of my favorite comedians, Frankie Bull in the UK, there'll be people here who know him. He says he once came across a homeless person and was about to give money and thought, wait a minute, I don't want this spent on drugs and alcohol. So I gave him the money.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Delta Charlie in the chat is a chef. He's working all weekend. That guy knows what's up. He knows what's happening. All right, man, let's start the show, because otherwise we'll just talk about, I don't know.
Stuff.
Yeah, stuff not gaming related, which we're probably still going to do after we start the show, but let's do it anyway. This is PSVR GameScast Live, where we film live every single Monday, West Day. Sorry, I guess it's wrong. I can't say Monday and then West Day. I have to say Monday, West Day, 2 Eyes Friday, right here on PSVR with our Parole. We do it live, 6 p.m. Eastern. We do it right here on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. For those of you who like to listen with your eyes, for those of you who like to watch with your ears, we also do this on podcast services of your choice. Thanks to our good friend Jay Meow, who uploads these things religiously. And by religiously, I mean every so often, once or twice a month on Sunday. And if you don't like watching this thing live, because we talk a whole lot about things like you just witnessed, don't worry. Our friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry puts timestamps into this thing after the fact. So thank you to everybody who helps this channel run. We appreciate you so much. And also, my name is Brian Paul from the channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. This gentleman over here, to my left, your right, is Myles Dyer from youtube.com/Myles.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Game Cats. Happy Friday. Ready for another awesome show? Viewer Takeover special, which means anything is possible, right? Anything is possible, Brian.
Anything is possible, but nothing is inevitable.
Yes, exactly that.
I have no idea.
That's all I've got. That's all I've got.
Brian's secret boyfriend with the $5 tip. Shout out to Myles for the pillow recommendation. Listen, I'm going to start getting jealous. Right now, you're recommending pillow selections to my secret boyfriend.
When I said anything is possible, even I wasn't realizing how possible this conversation was to go straight out the door. Hey. Yeah, last Wednesday of the month is just a free-for-all Q&A on Myles Dyer Live, my Wednesday talk show, and so it's just kind of like a viewer takeover special. And during the conversation, we were talking about things we buy online, and I recently purchased, it was an Instagram ad, they get you eventually, and it's this memory foam pillow called the Groove Pillow, and it has a nice little slot where you put your head, and it's because most pillows, your neck's in an awkward position, and sometimes you wake up. Have you ever woken up with your arm completely dead, and you're like, where's my arm gone? And then you're trying to wake it up.
I don't yell that now, but I mean, it's happened.
It happens. Yeah, let's not talk about anything else. But the new pillows is good, and I was talking about how good it was, and clearly other people are enjoying pillow recommendations. So maybe pillow talk should have been the show topic.
Maybe.
Thanks for the tip, though.
Yeah,
I'm glad that inspired a tip.
For real. You can never have too many nice pillows. Like I feel like once every 2 years, you just need to like go all in and replace all your pillows. Is that too frequently? I mean, I say that you should, but really, it's been the better part of a decade since the last time I replaced them. I got new ones recently, but it had been a long time prior to that.
Well, funny enough, even speaking with my best friend I was hanging out with tonight, was like, had a massive talk about pillows. Like, it's a massive conversation point. Like, so it seems to be this thing that we just all keep to ourselves, talking about like good pillows, and then every time someone has a good recommendation, like, really, and we all start doing it. So yeah, if anyone has any pillow recommendations in the chat, it's not just about VR. This is pillow talk as well. There we go. How many pillows do you use is the big question. I have 4 pillows on my bed, and it's 4 too many now because I've got an extra one that is the only one I need.
I have 6.
6?
Yeah.
You live in a pillow fort, Brian.
I do. I only need one for my actual head, but then I always have to like hold on to one. I have to pretend my secret boyfriend is there and snuggle. And then if I'm feeling real into my sleep regimen, then I'll throw one between my knees. Right, and so then it's almost like having a body pillow at that point, because now I'm snuggling with something, and my knees are wrapped around something, and so then it's almost like there's an actual person there. Myles, what's that like?
So in the package you also get this cube pillow that goes between your knees. So I got that as well. Yeah,
have you used it? Does it feel good?
It feels amazing. It actually goes just above your knees, so it rests, and I'm going to have to get it later. I'll get it later when I'm not talking. It's so ridiculous, but it's amazing. I've slept really well the last 4 nights, so really, really good.
Nice.
We need Game Cat pillows, clearly. Have we got can we sell without Parole pillowcases? Can we get that?
I'll look into it. I mean, I've been really bad about the merch stuff because, it's like, it's never really sold well, in the past. So like, why spend a ton of time making new stuff? But maybe if I made some really good new stuff, people would buy it. So I'll take a look. I'll see what's available. I would love to have like, Game Cat pillows, and I don't know. Everybody's been wanting Sirens on my end t-shirts, and so I think that's probably the one that would sell the best.
I would own one, or a mug, Sirens on my end, all that. Yeah. Such a good slogan, man. People wicked.
Are you using a YouTube mug, by the way? Is this a thing? Did they send you this, or did you have to buy this on your own?
Dude, this is like 12, 13 years old. Like I think it's an old logo, but they don't have that anymore, do they? It's like 13 years old or something like that. But
I don't even know what the current logo is. That's how much I pay attention to shit.
Well, when YouTube first started, it was actually called YouTube Broadcast Yourself. That was the full slogan, because it was always about everyone posting themselves online, and then all the corporations took over, and it was like, oh yeah, you can broadcast yourself as well, but we're now with all the big names.
LC Dean in the chat says GameCat VR mat, please. And if you guys haven't watched Myles' channel, youtube.com/Myles, he has the Without Parole logo for the PSVR2 when we changed it over on his VR mat. Who is that manufactured by?
I need to look up the manufacturer off the exact name, but it is something that Brian and I are speaking with behind the scenes. To be honest, it's something I need to follow up on. But we are in talks of having it on their store with the branding, so that if you want that version, you can get it. And I've never been about money is always secondary or tertiary, honestly. So I would be totally fine with them just having that option up there, and I don't even need to take a cut of it. I just want to make sure that if GameCats want this cool VR mat with the GameCat logo on it, then by all means, let's make that available. I don't need to make money off of that. I've just put the link to the website in the chat, though. It's called Proxy Mat.
Oh, nice.
So they just do all standard ones. My quick review of it is it's really, really great. And what you have is in the mat, in the middle of it, you have, I got the largest one. In the middle of the mat, you get this little button, so your foot knows where the middle is. And then there's a smaller button on the outside. the button is now starting to pop out quite a lot, so I have to keep putting it back in just from use. But to be honest, I have been using it a lot, obviously for live streaming and stuff, but it's really comfortable. And if you're someone who's really scared about walking towards a TV and punching it and stuff, you know, for me, it's what I actually do is I stand with each foot either side of each button. So I'm just like, if I'm here, I'm in frame of the camera, and I also know that I'm not going to be going anywhere near the TV, which, you know, even if it's just a bit out of reach, we know what it's like in VR when things get immersive. You take one step and that can be it, you know. So it's a good peace of mind as well, and it's really comfortable. So yeah.
Myles, what's going on in your channel? We gotta get this ball rolling.
Yeah. So last weekend, I was going to be doing 6 live shows, and the first one I was doing on Saturday was Cave Digger, and 20 minutes in, my live stream software just went kaput, and no way. I was not feeling good anyway. So I was like, you know what? Let's go on to the next game. Played Tentacular, had a good time with that, and then I played Unplugged Air Guitar. That was a game that I played only a bit of when I first got it, and I thought, nah. Having played a lot more of it, and like a lot of these music games, when you start playing the more difficult modes, it gets a lot of fun. I'm actually really liking Unplugged Air Guitar. I'm having a really good time with it, even though it looked really awkward just seeing me doing the actions on stream. There were lots of jokes about that for an hour and a half. But then when it got to Sunday, I was like, I need to step away from it. So those 3 games I'm going to be doing this weekend. So just to quickly go through, the 3 games I'm doing this weekend, I am playing tomorrow, kicking off with Ragnarok. So hammering beats on the high C. That should be good. Then I'm going to be playing The Room VR, which obviously has just come out, and we'll talk a bit about that later. And then I'm finishing off Saturday with Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded, a game I absolutely love, but looking forward to live streaming that. And then on Sunday, I am live streaming Moss, as in just book 1, but Moss, Tetris Effect, and then I'm going to be streaming, hopefully in its entirety, Before Your Eyes. So see if I can get through that without crying as much this time. But yeah.
Hopefully, and that's it. So hopefully in its entirety. What is it, like an hour long? I forget.
I think it's just under 2 hours. I mean, yeah, look, the reality is I will be playing it probably in its entirety, but I don't know. By that point, I might be so exhausted. Yeah. I'm like, all this blinking.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Very curious to hear some of your thoughts on some of these games. I know you've played some of them before, but actually, I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts on The Room, which, as you guys know, just got a PSVR2. I don't know if we want to call it a remaster or a re-release, whatever you want to call it. Anybody who's concerned about reprojection, have no fear. It runs natively at 120 FPS, and so no reprojection required. This is one of my favorites on PSVR1, Myles, but this is the first time you sort of dipped your toe into it. What did you think?
Yeah. So I never got to play The Room VR, and always heard great things about it. And I've always managed to keep in the dark about what happens in the game, even if there aren't particularly huge story twists and that. But I know that things get a bit out there as you play it, and I kind of like going in just unaware and not sure what to expect. Yeah. So because I am live streaming it tomorrow, I haven't played a lot of it. I literally dived in and just went through the tutorial level, and my initial thoughts were, game looks great. The haptics feel awesome. I love the mood, the setting. It feels very grounded and mysterious. I get a real sense that it's going to be a game that's quite freaky at times, but not necessarily scary, although you can always feel that it could go in that direction easily. And then the last thing I'd say, which is a big part of your review, and was, if I had seen just like the end card of your review of the pros and negatives, and you see like, oh, there's only click turning, I'd be like, super annoying. But actually, it works well. It works a lot better than other click turning games that I've played. And the teleportation, again, you mentioned it a lot in the review, is actually, it's a benefit to the game, because when you're playing these, and especially when you're in worlds that are very realistic, and everything looks like it could be interacted with, you don't want to be wandering around going, am I supposed to be doing this, doing that? The fact that you can teleport to the specific areas that are to do with the puzzles that you're doing, I think is a good compromise, should I say, for the format. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited to be playing it. But my initial impressions, because that's all I have, I want to be going in blind tomorrow, is very grounded, looks beautiful, and I just love the feeling and the mood of it. So really excited.
Yeah. Just going on a little bit more about the whole click turning and teleportation stuff. Yeah, it's like, everyone's going to have their opinions on it. I have my opinions on it. I'm not a fan of click turning or teleportation. But the fact is if you play the Room VR, like, you don't really have to use click turning. Like if you're playing it standing up, then you can just spin around and turn and then just teleport to where you want to go. And then you're always sort of facing the correct direction to interact with the puzzle at that node when you teleport. Right. So it, like you said, it really does utilize these things in the best way possible. What I would love to see what this game would be like if I had, a full body in the game, full locomotion, walk around. It would be kind of cool. Like, I think there's ways to get around the issues here. I think the issue is that they only let you teleport to places that you need to be. And some of these places are really big. So I think there's ways around it. I think if you kind of not like a beam of light where it's like, like you want to go here, but I do think if there was sort of like this, if the things that you need that are important in the scene, if those are just illuminated a little bit more than the other things in the environment, I think there's subtle ways around, making people feel like they're just wandering around aimlessly. I do think that if they make another game in the Room series in VR, that I would like to see them experiment a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And firstly, I'll just say GC13, the Diet Pepsi cat, huge thanks. He's gifted 10 PSVR2 without Parole membership. So congrats to everyone who won it, and thank you for the kind donation of those. It really helps us out. Yeah, a game I guess I would draw a parallel to is Red Matter 2. Yeah. Because again, I've not played a lot of the Room VR, so I'm just basing this on your review, and I'd be curious to hear what you think of this. Red Matter 2, maybe Red Matter, I never played the original, but Red Matter 2 is full locomotion. You're walking around, and it does have puzzles. But the Room VR, I assume, because of the nature of what it is, it's a much more densely populated puzzle game. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all about the puzzles, whereas Red Matter 2 is also about the exploration. There's a bit more of that, and obviously there's a bit of combat. So I kind of feel like Red Matter 2 is probably a good example of how it could work with full locomotion, but it would therefore require other components in the game. It would need to be more than just a puzzle game.
I see what you're saying.
Your thoughts are on
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, like that. Yes and no, right? I mean, like, you backtrack to Red Matter 1. And Red Matter 1 was very much just a puzzle game.
Right.
And without there wasn't even any platforming, not really. There wasn't any real action. And it still managed to be a fantastic puzzle game in its own right. So, yeah, I mean, add more elements to it. Sure. I'm always in favor of any game in any genre trying to reach a little bit further than what you'd expect from a game in that genre. Like, do the unexpected. Add some elements of to your game that maybe you wouldn't expect when you first started up. I mean, it definitely helped Red Matter 2 become more of a full-fledged game, or make it feel like more of a full-fledged game than the original. And I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah, and I also think it also means that the Room VR will lend itself to more early starters on VR. Earlier, new adopters and that. Yeah. For that reason.
I think so. We do have a couple tips here, Myles. First, from Hey Alex A. Yes, I intentionally mispronounced that. Do a fart with the $3 Australian. Says chiropractor approved memory foam is the best support. I don't know the difference between regular memory foam and chiropractor approved. But I'm not a chiropractor guy. So I do like memory foam though. Like the density and the squishiness of it, and then like kind of gives you that support. I do like it. Wally is now GameCast, specifically White Tiger, with the level 1 membership tip. He says, I don't like jump scares. Is the Room VR a scary game? No, it'll have you looking over your shoulder a lot, I think. I think there's a lot of great ambient noise. There are creepy things that happen that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. There's no jump scares, as to my recollection, but there's definitely some shit that you'll be like, "Damn, that was cool." Myles, it's Myles approved.
It's Myles safe. Yeah.
Speaking of horror, have you seen the show called From? It's on the MGM Plus streaming service.
I feel it's as in FORM.
As in FROM. Let me know in the chat if you've seen From,
familiar.
because I am late to the game on this, late to the party. It was only so I had signed up for the MGM Plus 7-day trial because I wanted to watch the Amityville docuseries. It's like 4 hours, really, really good series. And I was like, I was gonna let it expire. I was gonna cancel it. But then Pacer over on Discord told me, "Hey, while you have MGM, you got to check this shit out, dude." I ended up staying up all night last night marathoning From. I've spent. So this is good. Wait, hold on. We have always lived in the castle of Marycat. In the chat, it says From, the show that keeps giving you more questions so you forget the previous questions it threw at you. That's perfect.
So it's a J.J. Abrams show.
Exactly. Yeah. See, I'm not the kind of person, man. Like when I was watching Lost back in the day, a lot of people were. I mean, I didn't finish Lost, so don't. My opinion is not as valid as other people's. But when I was watching Lost, everyone's like, well, they never explained the smoke monster, never explained this, and never explained that. And I was like, yeah, it's a fucking mysterious island. Like, why, in what reality would all questions be answered, right? Like, here we are in life and not all questions are answered. Like, I'm actually really happy with unanswered questions in shows. And I think that, there's probably some like narrative device or something, or a narrative rule that leaving unanswered questions on the table breaks, right? I've always heard, don't put a shotgun above the fireplace in the second act if you're not going to kill somebody with it in the third act. But I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with just a little bit more, whatever adds to the atmosphere. But it is it's a great show, though. It is a great show so far.
That's really cool. And actually on that, I do recommend, I might have mentioned it on the show before, but J.J. Abrams did a TED talk about 15 years ago called The Mystery Box. And it's about a mystery box that he has at home that I think his dad gave him. And he's never opened it since he was a kid because the mystery of what could be inside is like the fuel for creativity and everything he does. Because he knows no matter how amazing what inside is, the mystery of not knowing is what's more important. So, The Mystery Box by J.J. Abrams. It's like a 15-minute TED talk. Highly recommend.
Looks like the chat is chiming in here. From is great. I'm watching the second season. I saw a couple more messages. McManus 007 says, yeah, you just got to roll with From. Like Lost, it's the mystery that's intriguing, not the answers. Great show. Cool. Okay, I'm glad I'm not in for disappointment, because sometimes the show starts off really promising and then just falls off a cliff. Like True Blood, I couldn't even get through season 2. I was really disappointed with that show. And then I heard Westworld gets really bad too. And I've been wanting to go back and check that out. So anyway, that's the TV corner of GamesCast Live. Thanks for being here.
We've covered it. Pillows, TV.
Yep.
This is it. This is what Viewers Takeover is about.
That's right. I did see a tip from Living Legend, Canadian $10, says, what a year for gaming. AC6 out next month. Then Hellsweeper, September 21st. MK1, Sonic, Superstars, Lord of the Fallen, Spidey 2, Arashi, Happy Funland, Madison, Arashi, and Happy Funland are my most anticipated. Living Legend, Boyd, we've got a list for you. In fact,
that's a good segue.
In fact, I was doing. I think I say very frequently on this show, Myles, that there's more games coming out between now and the end of the year than there are weeks left between now and the end of the year, right? And so, because even if we get one good game a week, I think everybody's really happy. As it turns out, there's only 22 weeks left in the year, and there are more than, I think, 32 games that we know or are currently slated to launch sometime this year. Strangely, most of them don't have release dates. They just have the big 2023 release window. So we'll see how many of these actually get delayed. But we're certainly starting off the second half of the year, which began like a month and a half ago, right? Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So, Myles.
This is why I've got to stream 6 a week if I want to catch up, because I want to get to a point where I can just live stream 1 or 2 a week weekend. That would be nice, but you know, there's a lot of games out there. I think there's currently 80 something out at the moment. Let me have a look here. I don't know actually.
Yeah, I mean, so 80, yeah, I've heard 80 something. So definitely hoping for, you know, these 30 to come out for the end of the year. We'll have over 110 in our catalog. I personally think when I look at something like the Quest catalog, I feel like we've already surpassed that. We've already got we've got better quality versions of most of the important games on Quest, and we've got, you know, a few great exclusives, and of course, you know, some of the games are night and day. You know, we talk about things like Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 on PSVR2. It's a really polished game, right? It looks stunning, and then it was like hard to play on Quest. So I think we're doing really, really good for only being 5 months out. I think I see a lot of people complaining about a lot of things all the time because, hey, it's the internet and that's what people do. But I think people need to take a step back and realize, like, we're doing really fucking good. This is the best launch period any VR headset has ever enjoyed. So if you don't have anything to add to that, Myles, the next part of this launch period, the rest of the launch year, is looking really, really good. I've got these in alphabetical order. Please stop me if there's any games you want to talk about. Stop. Yes.
Oh,
yep. Okay. The first one's Alvo. I mean, obviously, Alvo just announced recently that it's going to be out soon on PSVR2. And I mean, I don't want to stop and talk about each and every one of these, but I mean, like, I know you and I were both pretty big fans of Alvo when it came out.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to get that feeling of the game again in the context of PSVR2. Because, you know, Firewall felt like, it was a much more slower paced game. It was a tactical shooter. Alvo was much more arcadey. I was very blown away when I was jumping on it. I think you could jump on it and you could slide across the floor.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always tempted to say Alvo is more arcadey, but it doesn't feel like an arcade game. Like, do you know what I mean? It's this weird, like, middle ground between simulator and arcade. It's not going for realism, but it doesn't. You don't feel like. Do you know what I mean? It feels like you're kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I feel like it's, you know, people keep saying, oh, you know, Firewall is going to blow away Alvo, or Alvo is going to blow away Firewall. And I really do think that they're appealing to two very different types of gamers. Same with Crossfire, same with Pavlov. I think they've all carved out their own little, you guys ready for it? Niche?
Yeah.
It's niche. We're going to have to head over to google.com together and for a final verdict on this. Now, but it's looking really, really good. So, yeah, Move Master Mick. We're not talking about that right now. I don't know what's been said publicly, so I'm just trying to keep my mouth shut unless I know for sure. But please let me know if that's public knowledge. Arizona Sunshine 2. I think it's really funny that Arizona Sunshine 2 got announced and then quietly swept under the rug. And I don't know if that's because of what we've seen so far is basically nothing. Everything looks like CGI. It looks like CGI that's trying to look like gameplay. And so, like, this is coming out this year and we haven't seen any gameplay of it. But I think it's going to be really good. Like, how
I'm really looking forward to it. And I know there wasn't criticism. There was just a lot of no gameplay. Like, they've really got to prove themselves. And also off the back of After the Fall, which is a game I have very mixed feelings about. I actually enjoy the mechanics and of like the gunplay and actually the levels, but the sort of the glue that holds it together, whether it's the non-social social space or the things that you grind for, all of that I just found really uninspiring. Arizona Sunshine didn't lean on that kind of, you weren't grinding for anything. It was just a campaign. Be interesting to see what they do with that, because if it is that, you go out and you do levels and then you actually do build up XP and it has some kind of game loop, some kind of progression system, whether it has that and it's done well or it is just a solid campaign, I'm excited for both.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game that I really wanted Vertigo Games to be making. I really had no interest whatsoever in After the Fall, or at least the After the Fall that we got. I definitely wanted something with a full campaign. I didn't like the repetition of it. So yeah, I think this one's going to maybe surprise people. I think this is something that everybody really wants. We got Bad Dreams, the PSVR2 version of Bad Dreams. I just reviewed that. Obviously, not great performance wise. It needs a lot of work. It just got another patch yesterday, so these guys are obviously just going hard and making sure that they're delivering the best quality product they can, and that when it comes to PSVR2, it's going to be as best as it can be. But Behemoth is another one that I think people are sleeping on, and for good reason. For the exact same reason as Arizona Sunshine 2, Behemoth, we've only seen CGI trailers, and it's just
which were epic,
crazy.
But yeah.
I mean, I think I feel like Behemoth has the potential to be one of the best games that's coming out for the rest of this year because of its pedigree. Because we know that Skydance is amazing. Is
it scheduled for 2023?
Yeah. This CGI trailer that we're watching right now, I believe, I don't know if this one ends with it or if the original, name reveal teaser. I think they both end with coming late 2023.
I was going to say it looks like a very Christmassy game, so that would make sense
because of all the snow. Is that how your brain
very
works?
Very Christmassy. So it's a Christmas game. It's festive.
I can feel that. Yeah, gingerbread cookies and all that shit. Yeah,
that's it.
It's good. What's next on the list?
Black Hole Pool.
Yep, that's almost done. Bulletstorm.
I never played any of the pool games on. I don't know how many there were. I think there was a couple, wasn't there, on PSVR?
I remember there was one that controlled terribly with the moves, and then. Was there more than one? Oh, I think.
Well, wasn't there like the one that had bar games? Like it was and then there was one that was specifically a pool game.
Yeah.
Or have I? Yeah.
Billiards didn't have a great showing on PSVR 1. Let's say that.
But I did play it on Rec Room because you could play it in the bowling alley, and it actually worked. It wasn't amazing, but it was just a thing in the room. You were meant there to be playing bowling, and actually, it kind of worked good. So I always felt like, for a game that is just focused on it, this is the thing is when you have games that are focused on one particular mechanic, if they can nail it for VR, then it's a game that you're going to want to play again and again. So if there's a good pool game, I'm actually really excited for that. Bulletstorm VR,
again, announced and then went completely dark. They were saying it's coming out this year at some point. The more I look into this was, to me, when on PS3, when this came out originally, it just had like one of those generic names to it. It looked, there were a lot of first-person shooters coming out, and a lot of them were kind of generic. And to me, that this seemed like one of those games. I passed over it, and as it turns out, I guess I shouldn't have, because everybody who's talking about it now says, "Oh my god, I love Bulletstorm on PS3. It was so good." And so I'm actually really happy. It's the same Borderlands story with me, because I never played Borderlands 2 before it came to VR, and so for me, it was a brand new experience. And so this is going to be a brand new experience for me too. So I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, no, me too.
I do agree, though. I see people in the chat saying no more CGI trailers. I'm like, I'm kind of with you, man. It's like it's okay for like to get your trailer started and get people pumped. But man, it's like when you don't show gameplay, it's really hard to get excited about your game.
It is, but I just kind of feel like if they were going to show you just a title or a CGI trailer, what would you rather have? Because I kind of feel like, if they want to show something, because I get it, like we want to see gameplay, but if the idea is we just want to announce that we're making this game, I'd rather have a CGI trailer than just a logo on screen. So, yeah, I'm with you though, until we see the actual gameplay. But for now, we're talking about them, so they're doing their job.
Because that's true.
Yeah. Colossal Cave.
I mean, Colossal Cave special to me only because it kind of marks Ken and Roberta Williams' return to gaming. They had been away for a really long time. I was a huge Sierra adventure game fan when I was a kid. I was a point and click adventure guy. LucasArts games, Lucasfilm games, Sierra, King's Quest, Police Quest, Space Quest, all of these games are just so important to me. And then those guys, they went away, and Sierra was bought by Activision. And now they're back making games again, bringing back this seminal, I'm going to call it a text adventure game. There were graphics, but it was minimal, I believe. And they're bringing it to VR. So it's sort of like these two things that I love coming together for the first time, right? Ken and Roberta Williams coming back to gaming and making their game VR compatible. From what I've heard, this isn't a great game in VR, and it really is like whatever the opposite of VRAF is. But again, it's gonna be something I play just because I just need it, and I think I'm gonna be very forgiving of any of its faults, I think.
Okay. That's good to hear, because I didn't know a lot about this game other than what you were telling me, really. And I too grew up a massive fan of the point and click titles.
Nice.
Whether it was Monkey Island or Day of the Tentacle. Loved all that stuff.
Yeah. Really, really great games. I don't think we need to talk too much about Crossfire Sierra Squad. Obviously, that's
Speaking of which,
get a release date. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people do you know that have purple tentacles on their dresser? I like it. Crossfire Sierra Squad just got announced for, a specific August 29th, I think, release date. D-Day enhanced. We got Strange Game Studios bringing their ridiculous, over-the-top 64-player first-person shooter to PSVR2 soon. Firewall Ultra.
Playing that, sorry, at the Sunday it was Saturday and Sunday multiplayer. I jumped in on the Sunday. Every time they open up the beta, I see massive improvements in the UI, like the menus, like everything. Like it's just amazing to see the tweaks that are made between these beta testings and that. So I mean, I know that all devs do this, but kind of when you get to be a part of it, it's really magical, and it makes you appreciate the process even more.
No, they're doing a great job over there. Listening to a lot of player feedback. I mean, betas are very frequently just demos, right? But I think Strange Games is utilizing betas the way they're meant to be utilized, and getting player feedback and making sure that when the game finally comes out, it's going to be much more polished than it would have been otherwise.
Before we go to the next one, Brian, wasn't there a game, Desperate Vladivostok? Is it?
Vladivostok, yeah.
That's it. Is that going to be 2024, do we think?
No idea.
I don't know.
Is that?
I just don't know.
Is that not already out? Like that's one of those games that's like, okay, I kind of missed the boat on PSVR 1 because it came out late gen, and then they said, oh, it's also coming to PSVR 2. I think Perp is publishing it physically, so like I guess I would have known if it was out by now.
Yeah. So sorry, it did come out on PSVR
1. Yes.
I didn't realize. I totally missed that myself.
Wally's in the chat. Wally's now GameCast, specifically White Tiger. Canadian $2 tip says, what would be the next Sony first party game for PSVR 2? First party. I mean, are we speculating? Or are we actually trying to be knowledgeable about this?
I mean,
they've been really quiet about their flat screen and VR plans. My guess would be the next first party Sony game that we see on PSVR 2 is a hybrid game. Right, something that they'll probably hype up, something that maybe we are already aware of, something that they're going to announce soon, and then just also say, hey, it's also playable on PSVR 2.
Yeah,
my hope would be Destiny 2, honestly, just because that's such.
I was going to say it might be one of Bungie's new projects, because they're developing it and they can at least develop it with VR in mind. Whereas with Bungie, it's like with Destiny, they've made these worlds for flat screen, to then transfer it over there, it's a lot more problematic.
Yeah. I mean, the Foglands, like, I mean, I'm always down for another roguelite. That one looks like a fun one. Firewall Ultra, obviously, again, coming out in August. August is just absolutely loaded with amazing PSVR 2 games. Ghostbusters, we've got to assume this is coming out near Halloween, right? Like if this was like an October 1st game, it would just be absolutely perfect.
Dude, Halloween, if with all the horror games, we're expecting they're going to come out around Halloween. It's like August is Action August, just all the first-person shooters and stuff. And yeah, I mean, Halloween is going to be such a packed time for VR games if all these games do come out around then.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's probably the plan. I don't. There's at least like 2 or 3 other games on here that I would imagine would be October games. But Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters isn't going for horror, right? It's like it's always been a little bit more.
But it's the fun Halloweeny stuff, isn't it? Kind of like
that's what I think. The beginning of October, right? Before we get into the serious, scary games.
But also, I think having them all come out at Halloween is a really good thing, because Halloween time, if friends have got VR and they're like, oh, for Halloween, you got to come and experience. I already know friends who've been buying horror games that don't necessarily like them themselves. One of my friends tried out Cosmodread and was like, not my type of game, but has bought it. And now he's just sending me video footage of all his housemates putting them in the headset and getting them playing it. Like, it's amazing to see.
Green Hell VR, dude. I mean, Green Hell VR is one of those games that like just looks like a big budget game. Has deep gameplay mechanics. This is the kind of thing that everybody's been clamoring for. So I think Green Hell is going to be amazing.
Yeah,
that's still slated for Q3, so sometime in the next month or so. Did I get that wrong again? Next 2 months. I keep getting it wrong. I keep thinking that Q3 ends in August. This is like the second time I've done that in a week. Dude, Happy Funland. That's they're obviously going for some kind of October release on that. I would say, just kind of exploring a haunted or creepy amusement park.
It looks amazing.
It does. Do you have any hopes for it? Like any specific things that you hope you can do in the game that they haven't really shown off in the trailer yet?
I haven't, but and I did mention this before. It just has it. It feels like Rush of Blood in terms of its aesthetic, but it's free roaming. So it's like, can you imagine Rush of Blood, but the bar holding you in the roller coaster just comes up and it stops, and it's like, you're not going anywhere now. You got to go explore this broken down carnival. So yeah, I honestly don't really know what to expect from it, but I know it's going to be horrible, but also I know it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
and happy.
By the way, in response to that last tip Waleed sent, Corey Massey responds that Sony will never put one of their main studios on a VR game. If anything, they'll have Firesprite partner with those studios to help make the game. I think that that's, if you're looking at something like Horizon Call of the Mountain and saying, well, this is what Sony's plan is moving forward, then you can say, yeah, okay, well, if that's what you believe Sony's going to do from this point on, then sure. But I don't believe that's what Sony's going to do from this point on. I think it was very important to them to have an exclusive, like you can't play this even on the flat screen game at launch that was one of their big IPs. So they can say, hey, we've got this exclusive Horizon game, plus you can play Gran Turismo 7 and you can play Village, all at launch, and say, look at these are the types of games you can expect. However, Sony didn't blacklist us for no reason, right? We're not just out here like spewing random nonsense and they go, we should blacklist them. No, we blacklisted because we've revealed some of their fucking strategies, and hybrid games is one of those strategies. And so they know full well that they can't make any money off spending tens of millions of dollars on a VR game. They know that full well. But what they can do is make tens of millions of dollars adapting one of their games to also play in VR, and I think that maybe we won't hear about it this year, but I think next year Sony will start talking about more hybrid games, and I don't know if that'll be a public thing, like if they just say, hey, this is our strategy moving forward. We want you to be able to play as many flat screen games in VR as possible, or if they're just going to start announcing more games like Resident Evil 4, more games like Destiny VR or whatever it might be, Uncharted VR. We'll just have to see how that kind of pans out, but that is the plan to some degree or another.
I do think multiplayer hybrid games are excellent, though, because it's a great marketing tool, because I think Phasmophobia is a game that has always been a hybrid game on other platforms. And the idea is like you got people that are playing on flat screen, multiplayer, and they're literally looking at their friends, and it's as if their friends are in the game. Like they're waving, they're doing all the stuff you can only do in VR, freaking out, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, I'm enjoying this game on a flat screen, but they're actually in that house at the moment. So yeah, I think hybrid games is gonna be a good way of bringing people across for that reason as well.
Yeah. Hellsweeper, which if anybody played Sorrento, obviously you should be excited about that. Journey to Foundation looks like a huge adventure. I can't wait to see what Archeac's been cooking up for us over there. That to me feels a little bit point and clicky in terms of like, you know, you have all these options and it could be a much slower paced adventure. You know, sounds like you can go in guns blazing or just kind of go in and be more diplomatic. We'll see.
Talking about guns blazing, Brian, What about Kill It With Fire? Is that not coming out?
Do we have? I mean, did they say 2023? I don't even know.
No, I don't think they did. But I just like, where is that game? Because I remember that was one of the first games we spoke about right at the start. Like,
yeah, I don't. Man,
that didn't also come out to PSVR, did it?
No,
already. No,
it didn't. But so this year, but the Kill It With Fire VR did actually launch, I believe, on Quest and PC, and they were like, "Oh, we'll get it to PSVR2 soon." I don't know if when they said that they gave any kind of indication as to when it would be. But yeah, this does look great. Arian with the 35 cubic zirconia says, "Not sure if it's been answered before, but any idea what the additional hardware required refers to that those working on making PSVR2 work on PC mentioned?"
I don't understand the question.
I don't either. So,
do you want to clarify in the chat, Arion? But
so those who are trying to make PlayStation VR2 work on PC are saying that you'll need additional hardware. Like what? Once they get it up and running, you'll need additional hardware to make it work.
Yeah, is that just because the headset has features in it that standard PC doesn't?
Let's hope that Wes is still here. I saw Wes in the chat earlier, and he's obviously our PC guy. Maybe he can answer this question.
Well, because isn't it in part the fact that a lot of the stuff that is coming out of PSVR 2 is because it's in sync with a console that they're basically made for each other. So, you know, the VR headset is only able to achieve what it does because of PSVR 2. The PS5. And the PS5 is, you know, they're working synonymously. So when you just port a game to the PC, it's not just, okay, you're having to take it from the PSVR 2 headset for other types of headsets. It's also, what was the PS5 hardware doing? And they have the SSD and, you know, all the Tempest engine for 3D audio. But that's just me speaking very matter of fact about it. I couldn't go any more detail than that.
All right. So Wes in the chat says, I think they're using a Raspberry Pi kind of breakout box. All right. I mean, yeah. So stuff that's designed for PS5. Here's the funny thing, man. The funny thing is people are putting so much work into trying to make a PSVR 2 work on a PC. Why? Right? Why? Because
consoles suck, Brian.
Well,
it's all about PC, man.
This just tells us that like there's an obvious gap in the marketplace on PC for people who want a high quality headset at a decent price, right? So otherwise, what's the point? Like, what's the point? So I mean, I love my PSVR 2. I love everything about it. I'm really enjoying this, But I'm not a PC guy, so I don't know what the comparable headset is, price wise and tech wise. But obviously, there's a hole in the market if anybody even cares about trying to make a PSVR 2 work on PC. But hey, you know, good on them. Good on them for trying to make it happen. That's for sure. Oh, here we go. Substatica in the chat says extra value for owners. That's an excellent point that I would not have considered otherwise because I hate PC gaming. I only do it when absolutely necessary. And so, yeah, so if you are a PSVR 2 and a PC gamer, right, then you've one headset to rule them all. That's all you need. You don't need to have separate headsets laying around, which is an excellent point, Substatica. Et.2k9.now with the $10 tip, I think answers the question that Arian was asking. Says, at the moment, they have to use additional Linux hardware to trick the PSVR 2 from knowing it's connected to a PC. Seems like a whole lot of work to play games.
Yeah. Yep. I just want to be able to plug it in and play.
All right, dude, we got to blast through the rest of this list. We got Journey to Foundation. We got Lo-Fi, which fingers crossed, dude. Right? Like fingers crossed, they managed to put a good game into those beautiful environments. We can't wait to torture you with Madison. I can't wait for all of the crew to get into Phasmophobia together. Numata.
Phasmophobia, I'm really looking forward to, and I'm gonna have a good time with that, even though it's freaky. But dude, yeah, Madison is genuinely the one game I'm genuinely scared at thinking about. It not even just scared playing. I'm scared thinking about playing it. Like, dude, once I hit about an hour into that live stream, I'm going to be like, I'm done, and I did it, and I'm proud of myself. And
I'm never playing it again. It's like that. That's like I did it.
It might click something in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, I've like gone over the line now. I can play any horror game.
Oh god.
Nah.
Yeah. I will say the more I see of Numata, the better it looks. Numata is, a very unknown game for me. Like it looks like it has so much potential, and so hopefully that is supposed to come out this year. Brian E says, "Damn, is Madison that good?" Madison's really scary. It's so funny. The marketing is so strange to me. They keep trying to bill it as like the scientifically most like scariest game ever made, and they like fill in all these criteria and rate it scientifically. It's a scary game. I've only played it on Switch, so I don't know how scary it can get. We'll see. Prison Simulator, Resil Player, The Seventh Guest. That's definitely something I know a lot of people are excited about out there. Stranger Things VR has not revealed anything since the original teaser. Tempest 84, which I revealed back, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago on a PSVR award show. Just announced they have a November release date, so that's coming this year. How excited are you for TOS, Myles?
I'm actually looking forward to TOS. Yeah. Do we know if it's multiplayer?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because if you can race people in real time, that'd be amazing. If not, there better be high scores. And it feels like I shouldn't have to say stuff like that. I've just been very surprised with a couple of games lately that are arcadey. You're racking up scores, and then you get to the main menu and like, oh, the score didn't log or anything. I say a couple of games. I can only think of one game at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it's happened a couple of times. So yeah, but no, TOS, honestly, because, and I know it seems weird I'm mentioning this game a second time, Rec Room had this like ninja, what was it called? Ninja Warrior sort of assault course mode. And you could race people climbing up the ropes, jumping across, and it was, and wall running and stuff like that. And then you had to press the buzzer at the end and get the best time. Nice. That was really good fun. So to have a game that is all about kind of moving about and stuff at speed, yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, to the top though, we'd love to see that on PSVR2.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll have more information about To the Top on PSVR2 soon enough.
Woo!
Twilight Zone is supposed to be coming to PSVR2 soon. Ultra Wings 2, they said soon-ish. Vampire the Masquerade Justice, another game that got revealed and I feel like has been very strangely quiet since the reveal. That's Fast Travel Games' next big adventure. Vertigo 2, obviously a huge game made by one of the smallest teams you could possibly imagine. That's supposed to be out by the end of the year. Did they say that? Fuck, I don't remember. Yes, they did. Did I say that? I think I said that. Who can keep up? I say a lot of shit. And then, of course, VR Skater coming out next week. Dude, we just listed off so many fucking amazing games. So many games that, like, I cannot wait to play. I don't think there's a single game on this list that I have zero interest in. There's maybe like 3 or 4 that I'm like, I don't know, I could do without those, no big deal. But that still leaves like almost 30 games coming out over the next 22 weeks that I'm super excited to play. Like, we have it so good right now as VR gamers. I don't think we've ever had it better than this. This is the best time to be a VR gamer, and I think PSVR2 is one of the best places you could play it. You play all these games. Brian E says Wanderer 2, 2024 though, my friend. So we'll keep you posted on when we hear a good release date or a more definite release date. I don't know, man. My brain's fried. What am I even trying to talk for? All right, man.
I've been adding so many of these to my PSVR2 titles like database that I've been using for planning my live streams, and it's depressing how many of these I didn't actually have on it. It was a long list already. So at the moment, I've now got 139 games. There are 139 games. That includes ones that are out now to come out in 2023, and then the ones I've got also for 2024 and beyond, like Aces of Thunder and lots of others. Ghosts of Tabor.
There are a lot of games that have gone a little radio silent, have not ever mentioned the release date, just said, oh yeah, we're planning on coming to PSVR2. And as we know, man, like some of these games just drop unexpectedly. Some of them just get, we get the notification a week before they come out. And so I would be shocked. Sure, a couple of these games might get delayed into 2024, but I would be shocked if just as many didn't get announced and then released that weren't even on our radar. So,
and Resident Evil 4, we assume next year now, yeah?
We have to assume. We just don't know. I mean, is two massive Resident Evil games on PSVR 2 in 1 year too much? Or does Sony think they should like spread this out a little bit?
I feel personally that because Village had already been out for a while, it's kind of like it just reheats that audience here now. Experience it in VR. Yep. Resident Evil 4 would feel like. Do you know what I mean? There's a different value proposition with doing Resident Evil 4 VR, because when that releases, even though Resident Evil 4 has been out for a bit, it would feel like a new VR game. Whereas Resident Evil Village, it definitely was a new VR game, but it felt like a VR version of a flat screen game that's years old. Or have you? Do you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I feel that they don't have to wait for Resident Evil 4. But if they did, it would still be a success next year. But I kind of feel like it wouldn't surprise me if there's another VR thing coming around the corner from Capcom.
I think that I think that Sony's going to want to do some kind of holiday push, right, for PSVR 2, and that would be the perfect holiday push. Maybe even throw it in a bundle, or maybe
and let's not.
Is that a game that's just too? Maybe Gran Turismo would be a better game to throw in the bundle, right? Because I do feel like that maybe Resident Evil games are just too scary for too many people.
Yeah, that too. I do feel that Capcom have been very, very overt when they were talking about Resident Evil Village when they were announcing the DLC, and they said during that you can play in third person. And they made it very explicit that with the RE engine, they now have the flexibility to go between first and third person. Now, it's not just as simple as going, oh, we've done a first person game, here's a third person, and vice versa. But what it means is a lot of the heavy lifting has been done. So I think that when they do flat screen first person games or even third person games, to make a VR component is a lot easier to turn around than what a lot of other VR... a lot of other developers would be turning their flat screen games into VR. They'd have to like have a system in place to make that work. Capcom seem to have, they realise that this is a market, and that this is something they're able to turn around quickly, or quicker than others could.
Yeah,
not to take away from the fact it still takes a lot of work to do.
For sure. Oh, for sure. They only announced in like February or March or something that they'd begun work on the VR version of Resident Evil 4. So we'll see. We'll see how long it actually takes them to do it. I think a lot of people would love to see Resident Evil 7 on PSVR 2, because that was just the absolute scariest Resident Evil game yet, and getting to experience that in the highest resolution possible with two hands in the game, sense controllers, rumble in the headset, all of that. Hearing Jack stomp down the hall coming after you would be one thing, but hearing Jack stomp down the hall with the vibrations in the headset, because he's stomping down the hall, or when he comes crashing through the wall, as they show in the trailer, and then feel that in the headset. I mean, there are a lot of ways to make Resident Evil 7 maybe one of the best VR games ever made.
I do think with RE7, could come out this Halloween. I think if it came out next year, it would be really powerful as well, because, again, it's this sort of two phases we're seeing with the launch of PSVR 2. The first adopters, many of them, I'm assuming, are going to be those that already had PSVR. They want the upgrade. To bring RE7 out once they see there's a lot of new adopters of VR, it'd be a great marketing tool, because a lot of people will be saying, oh my God, one of the best games on PSVR is now on PSVR2. And it means all the people that own the headset that never played it and never experienced it are like, wow, this is the one that everyone was talking about. I've got to experience it now. So,
yeah.
You know, that they could do a new VR game every half year, it feels like, whether it's porting, you know, RE7 or doing RE4. But
James Wolf in the chat says, can't even run Resident Evil 7 through a PS5 with a PSVR1 headset. Make sure you have the PS4 version installed, because we did get a PS5 upgraded version. And so you're not going to be able to run anything that's labeled as PS5 on your PSVR1 headset. So just make sure you can still download the PS4 version. And so that should be your solution to that. Let me know if that's not actually the problem you're having, though, because I'd be curious to find out more. Dude, it's time to hit up some viewer takeover questions, starting with some people who've been tipping in the chat. Arian with the Cubic Zirconias, 35 of them, in fact, says, does your review score of Switchback change now that the patch is out? I've been holding out for the patch and would love to hear your thoughts. We did a pretty lengthy episode, I think, of GamesCast about the patch, but to sum it up, yeah, I mean, I think I gave it a 7 initially, right? The game itself hasn't been changed, not fundamentally, not from a level design. Like, it's the second half of it still gets a little bit, you know, it slows down considerably, I guess, because of all the puzzles and everything else that they try to shoehorn into that. And so I don't think the second half is nearly as fun as the first half. But yeah, I mean, it's way more immersive now. You know, Wes was saying that he feels like it's more difficult, which is interesting. I'm gonna have to take a look at that and get into there and figure that out.
I've been told they've changed some jump scares in it. They have mixed some stuff up. Some people have told me.
Man, my memory's so bad that I wouldn't even know.
Well, this is it. Yeah, but that might be why it's difficult as well. Is there's stuff that just throws you off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely a high 7 at the lowest. You know, it could potentially be upwards of an 8, because I do just love the genre so much, and now that it looks better and feels better, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it already. You know, we talked a lot of shit about it because we were just trying to point out all of its flaws, but I said from the beginning that I liked it at launch. I just wished more for it. But yeah, it definitely deserves a little bit of a better score. We'll see how much, though, when I spend more time with it. Waleed is now a GameCast, specifically White Tiger, with a Canadian $5 tip, says, RE4 remake. My brother is a big fan. He finished it and says so many sections of the game seems to have been designed for VR. Also, VR Skater will be fun. Myles, what's your history with Resident Evil 4? Did you play the original versions, or any of the versions, or the remake, or
never
new
played,
to you, no matter what?
Never played Resident Evil 4. And then when the remake was, I was like, this is when I'm going to jump in. And then when it said in development for VR, it's like, well, then that's when I'm going to experience it.
Yeah.
But for Resident Evil as a whole, I mean, my first experience of it was playing the demo disc with Magazine for Resident Evil 2. And it's where you had a time limit for the beginning of the game. And I played it again and again. And then I finally went out to buy Resident Evil 2, and it was just as Resident Evil 3 Nemesis came out. Mm-hmm. And because of that, the shop accidentally put the new Resident Evil 3 disc in the Resident Evil 2 box. So I got home, opened it up, and I was like, wow, I've got the new Resident Evil game. So my first Resident Evil game was actually Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, which I have a very, a close place in my heart for. So yeah, and then I think it was
you, right, with Nemesis bashing through the wall and stuff and being like
stars, and it just unbelievable, man. Incredible game. And I love the mercenary mode on that, which was a shame it wasn't done in the remake. And then I think the next one I played was, I don't think it was RE5, I think it was RE6. Let me just have a quick look. I know it was one that was, no, I think it might have been 5. It was one that was very problematic in the press. Yeah, Resident Evil 5, I think it was.
Probably problematic in the press for all the wrong reasons. That game was just fucking not fun.
Yeah.
Man Bear Pig Gamecat with a $2 tip says, will Disney ever get into the VR space game wise? You would think so, right? Because they own all of the big licenses that we want in VR. Disney controls Marvel. Disney controls Indiana Jones, and they control Star Wars. So I mean, we've seen some Star Wars games, but will we ever see?
Oh man, Toy Story VR, where you're in. If you're in the bedroom and you're like tiny on the floor, it'd be amazing. Once again, I'm going to use it. I actually played a Toy Story game in Rec Room someone made, where you were going around the bedroom, and it was actually really well made. So once again, they just need to make a proper game of it.
For sure. Guys, if you haven't left a comment over on the Viewer Takeover channel in Discord, feel free to. That's where we're going to be pulling a lot more of these questions from. Except my Discord is having the bug where names just disappear for some reason. I believe this one is from Izzard. Myles, if you can help back me up on this. I basically copied and pasted everything from Izzard down, and so you may have to help me out with some of these names. But he writes,
where have you pasted it? Sorry.
I haven't, but they're all in the voice. They're all in the Viewer Takeover channel on Discord.
That's cool. Yeah.
So the other people have posted it already.
That's cool.
Let's see here. We got Izzard saying, "Tell us your memory of the first time you tried VR. Did it set your imagination ablaze, thinking of the possibilities? Did you notice your brain rewiring as you adapted to a new world of escapism? Did flat games become automatically second rate forevermore?"
I love that question. I mean, my answer is a very short one. Well, the first time I ever did VR was when I was younger. We had Sega World in London, and it was a massive, like, 5-story arcade place. It's now called Trocadero in London, but it was all about Sega. And they had this VR game where you sat in. It was like a cinema, but everyone sat down in these like little booths, and you were flying spaceships, and I think you could see each other in it. I bet you if I wore that headset now, I'd get massive headaches because the graphics were probably terrible, but back then it was kind of cool. But then my next memory, which kind of, it feels like a similar sort of time, is it called Downtown Disney in Florida? It was like this shopping area. They have like the Rainforest Cafe and that. And I think it may have been Downtown Disney, where you buy tokens and then you can go to different things in it. So one of them was like, there's a booth where you build your own roller coaster and then you get to ride it. So if it goes upside down, you go upside down, stuff like that. And they had this Jedi VR game. And I remember me and my brother were in it, and you could actually see each other, and you were fighting stuff with lightsabers. And in those moments, I was absolutely blown away and just thought, and again, this was like 20 years ago, so the graphics weren't great, but the sense of immersion was really interesting. But then the last bit I'll say to this was my first time experiencing a domestic VR headset was when my brother had the HTC Vive, and I put Job Simulator, and just being in the menu of Job Simulator, like looking around in this massive room and just like looking at your hands, and like Job Simulator is just picking up stuff and throwing it without consequence. Yeah. I was like, I could play this game forever. Now, obviously, since then, I couldn't play that game forever, because as fun as it is, there's only so eventually you throw cups on the floor and you go, all right, I'm ready to do something else, like climb a mountain and stuff. But in that moment, I just thought, like, I don't want to do anything else right now.
Climb a mountain. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Boy, do I have a game for you.
What about you, Brian?
I feel like people always like threw like their cardboard or whatever, like cell phone VR things on my head here and there. And it was like, I remember just having a slow time at work where Des was like, he was like, here, try this. And like, it was like a falling off a building simulator, right? Where he's like literally just like falling down to the street below. And I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. But like, didn't really do anything to me. You know, I was like, I mean, I used viewfinders when I was a kid. Remember viewfinders? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you have the circle thing, and then you click it, it goes round. Yeah.
It was like these 3D images and stuff. And that's always what like the cell phone stuff seemed like to me. And so I had ordered PSVR sort of like just because I loved PlayStation, and I was always curious like what real VR was going to be like, and I didn't know anything. Like what I had just the minute they announced that you could pre-order PlayStation VR, I pre-ordered it, and I didn't know if it was a good idea or not. And so when it showed up and I was like sitting on the floor, I remember Michelle came over before work, and I'm sitting on the floor and there are wires everywhere, right? The breakout box, the PlayStation, HDMI cables, just like it's an absolute mess. And when I put the headset on for the first time, I was sitting on my couch in front of my TV, and I saw what was on my TV. I saw the PlayStation 4 home screen, right? And my brain couldn't process that, like, I wasn't looking at my TV, because like I looked up and the TV stayed down here. I looked down, TV stayed here. Like, that's just not something I've experienced before, right? So in my head, without thinking much about it, I was like, this is my TV, because it was about the right size and about the right distance away, the whole thing, right? I just wasn't thinking. And then I started up the demo disc, and then everything like washes down in like white, and you're in that like that menu screen, and I suddenly looked around and was like, oh, okay, this is VR, right? And like it wasn't even like, oh, gaming has changed for me forever, because it was still baby steps at that point. It was still like, oh, I'm playing Headmaster, I'm playing Job Sim, I wasn't playing full-fledged games in VR yet, and so like I didn't even know what the potential was. But man, just existing in that space was beautiful, man. That was a lawnmower moment for me, lawnmower man moment for me. And yeah,
dude, why is Headmaster not on PSVR2 with the head rumble?
I asked them. I said, why aren't you? And they said, oh, we don't have any plans right now. And I was like, you should have plans. Like, this is ridiculous.
We'll make plans,
right?
We'll fucking make plans.
It's ridiculous.
Here's the plan. Read it. Put it on PSVR2. All right. That's the plan. Do it.
Oh man. All right. So that's I think that covers that one. We got to do. This name situation is pissing me off. I'm just going to bring up Viewer Takeover, the Viewer Takeover channel on my phone.
Okay.
Gilman says, with the announcement of the 7th guest VR and previous release of Myst, what retro point-and-click game should be revived in VR? You said you were a point-and-click fan.
I feel like Monkey Island, just the music and just the vibe. I mean, Day of the Tentacle, going to different parts in time. Don't you meet Benjamin Franklin in Day of the Tentacle?
That does ring a bell, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Day of the Tentacle, to like walk around that place would just to experience it. But then it is. I feel like Monkey Island more so. You could. I feel Day of the Tentacle. The aesthetic is it being flat. It is a flat cartoon. It kind of works for that. I don't know. Kind of making it a 3D game, whereas Monkey Island, I could see probably there's a bit more. Monkey Island's been reimagined, hasn't it? It's been remastered, and obviously there's the new one now that has a completely different art style.
Oh, and there's so many games in the series. So many games in the series. Like Telltale got its hands on it and put out a bunch of those, and yeah.
Did they?
Yep. Yeah, I didn't actually like them very much. They were missing something that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Day of the Tentacle though. That would just be just thinking about traveling through time to stand next to an actual tentacle would be pretty epic. Yeah, towering above you. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I like to go as obscure as possible, and this probably isn't as obscure as I could go, but I'm going to go with Loom because I was always a huge fan of that game. As a kid, I didn't realize that they were making a lot of jokes in it, and so I took it real seriously. And so, as you know, I was like, "Oh, this is Lucasfilm, like, you know, writing a serious fantasy game and blah blah blah, whatever." And to walk around without any interface, like, there's no UI in that game except for clicking notes on your staff, so that like you know,
yes,
you know, ECED, and like you kind of hum this, right? Make the sound, and then and that's your open command, right? So you wave your staff at something, and you hum these notes, and then that opens the chest or whatever, right? And you learn different spells throughout the course. So it's like basically adding more and more words to your vocabulary so that you can interact with the environment more and more and more. And I can absolutely see holding that staff in VR, right? And maybe even using the voice commands to like hum those notes yourself, right? Get rid of UI completely. And just, I mean, and plus it was such a beautiful world, man. Like the world of Loom and all the different guilds that you encountered was just awesome. They all had their own vibe. It was awesome.
I'm looking at screenshots now of it, and it looks awesome. Yeah, I see all the music notes at the bottom with the stick.
Yep. It's one of my favorites, man. One of my favorites. I mean, I was a big Monkey Island fan, big Maniac Mansion fan, but when Loom hit, like Loom just hit different.
So Maniac Mansion, I only played because it was in Day of the Tentacle, wasn't it? I don't know if it was the same game or it was a reimagining, but there was like an arcade machine of Maniac Mansion, and I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure because I remember it always scared me because don't you have like the professor? You got to not get caught by him. He'll just turn up in the house. Yeah, that's it. He was obviously in Day of the Tentacle as well. That freaked the hell out of me. I was like, I'm not sure I want to play that game.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it might be. I don't know. I'd be curious to know if it was actually the full game. But
I remember that arcade machine being there. And I think you're right. I think it might be the full game. Strangely enough, I do think still to this day that the NES 8-bit cartridge was the best version of Maniac Mansion. The music fucking rock, dude. And like the characters like ran around so fast that like you didn't have to wait for them to walk to their destination. It was really, really good. Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Yeah, they say there are 2 missable achievements. It's about in Day of the Tentacle. It requires you to play the prequel game, Maniac Mansion.
Nice.
Which is yeah.
Love it. Yeah, everybody in the chat is saying it's the full game.
That's awesome.
Let's see here. Hang on. I've totally lost my place. Shade from Light Matters, #viewer takeover. Do you think VR developers spend too much time remaking mechanics that other developers have already perfected? I think VR games could be significantly better if developers could purchase and modify gameplay code from other developers who already got it right, and then focus more of their development resources on content. Thoughts?
I thought the question was starting off by saying like, shouldn't they just be doing their own stuff? But yeah, I kind of feel like there's a lot more collaboration in the VR dev community than maybe others, just because it's still a new world and everyone is learning off each other. Just from the conversations I've had with devs, I feel like everyone's just happy to share and chat about what they've learned and learn off each other because they're all working it out. But I could be wrong. But like purchasing, I mean, I don't feel that's in the spirit or something that devs would really do. Like it's not done with flat screen games.
It's not, but I feel like there are so many elements. There are so many different mechanics in VR games, and I think that you could even begin to list in flat screen games, right? Because there's like just figuring out the best way to manage an inventory in VR has been a nightmare. Right? You look at something like Paranormal Activity on PSVR1, and it is just the worst inventory system you could possibly imagine. It's just so clunky and cumbersome and awful. And then Saints and Sinners comes along and says, "Oh, just grab your backpack off your back. Just reach back, pretend it's there, and pull it out, and then just kind of cycle through, and there's everything you need." You look at somebody like a Creative 3D VR who just put out Bad Dreams, and they obviously saw this backpack mechanic and said, "That's a great idea. We're going to do that." But it didn't quite work as well. And so it's almost like if they could have just bought it from Skydance, said, "Okay, well, they've perfected the inventory system. Let's just buy it from them."
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Oh, no, I would be okay with it. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than being like, oh man, this inventory system is okay, but man, it's been done so much better. Like, why didn't you, if you were going to copy it, why didn't you just completely copy it? And to give people the ability to just purchase it would be perfect.
Dude, I just imagine like playing all these different games that are like completely unrelated, and you do the inventory and it's the same backpack. So you're playing like a space game where you're like spacewalking on the
well, that's the funny thing,
the International Space Station, and then you're out on your spaceship and you bring out the Saints and Sinners backpack.
Like, but that's the thing though. Like, even space games are using. Like, have you played Wandering in Space? Wandering in Space uses the same backpack system. Yes, it's a different looking backpack, but but it's like everybody has realized. I think this is the best inventory system there is, and so everybody's just copying it at this point. So, but I think it's kind of part of the fun right now. It's part of the fun to see, because there are definitely going to be developers out there who say that's a great idea what Saints and Sinners did. but we know how to make it better. Like we've got an idea that'll make it even better. And so to see what I mean, even I think Shades even said this in his question, like to be able to purchase it and then elaborate on it and like iterate on it. And I think that's the part that I'd be more excited about, is be like, hey, you thought this was a great idea, but you also had an idea of how to make it better. And that's, when you think about the advent of first-person shooters on the flat screen, Myles, it's like it took so long to come up with a control scheme that worked for everybody, right? The dual analog stick system that everybody's used to now has not always been the case. You go back to those original N64 games, PS1, even PS2 games, and it's so weird, dude. Have you tried to play Time Splitters 1 recently? Like, one of the analog sticks actually moves the cursor around the screen, doesn't actually change your view until you get further to the corner of the screen. It's mind-boggling. This is how we used to play first-person shooters. It took a decade for us to get that formula down. And so anything that we could do to speed up the process in VR so it doesn't take another decade to come up with some standards, I think would be amazing.
Yep.
Who's our next question from?
Don't know, Brian. Who's it from? Who are we going with? We got loads here. Oh, this one comes from Blast. Brian, how are you? Full stop. From the UK.
I'm good. How are you?
I might have to tie that to them and see if they get back to us.
Okay.
Cool. Your turn, Brian. Next question. Mr. Cherryman says, Brian, are you close to finishing the lens review? I think I'm going to get a pair.
So this is a good question. It's a very good question. No. I really want to spend most of my weekend getting this lens review done. Because as you guys know, I love my Hans VR lenses. They slide right on. But people say if you use them for long enough, they start to loosen up. If you put them on, take them off, they start to loosen. Then you look up and they fall into your eyes, which is no fun. And I haven't had that issue yet, but I'm going to experiment and see if I can, if that happens to me. But it also makes you short. You put the lenses on, and like for whatever reason, certain games, it causes height issues in like Synapse. Like I'm 3 feet shorter in Synapse than I should be. And I was like, man, that sucks. So I tried my Real Optics lenses today. In Real Optics, have the ones that you slide on, but those aren't the lenses. That's just the magnetic rim that you've created around your lenses now. And then you take your lenses and boom, they magnetize to it. And I was like, these are smaller rims around the lenses. So I'm like, I wonder if this will cause less height problems. So I used Synapse as my litmus test. And I jumped in and I was 4 feet tall in Synapse again. And I was like, oh shit, this is just a problem with VR lenses altogether. So I'm gonna have to start writing to these companies and say, is this something that people have complained about? Do you have a workaround? Do you know what's causing this? Because for the life of me, I can't figure out what would cause me to be shorter in games just because there's a VR lens on my headset. Doesn't make any sense. So it seems like all VR lenses have the same problems, but so far I'll tell you, the Real Optics ones, very cool. I love the ease of use, to be able to take them on, take them off, and how they magnetize. Love them. But they're all good so far. I'll keep you posted.
Cool.
Rody, the Game Cat, had what I thought was going to be a similar question to something we already talked about, but it's different. He writes, #viewer takeover. So Ken and Roberta Williams dipped their toe into VR with a decidedly lackluster Colossal Caves VR. I'll let you know when I play it. Is there another legendary developer you'd like to see take a stab at it? Ron Gilbert, Sid Meier, Chris Roberts, Warren Spector? Hideo Kojima, Myles?
Hideo Kojima, I just would love to see do VR.
Yeah.
But this is about Colossal Caves VR and specifically, right? Or not?
No, he's just asking, like, because these are legendary developers who finally tried VR. What other legendary developer would you like to see make a VR game?
Yeah, Hideo Kojima. I'd love to see Neil Druckmann try something grounded story. Obviously, when I say Neil Druckmann, I am thinking about Naughty Dog as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Hideo Kojima Productions would be amazing. I mean, just the world of Death Stranding, dealing with BTs in VR would just be Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who didn't play Death Stranding, I guess my hope would be that he'd get his hands back on the Silent Hill license for something like PT, or just go completely rogue and make his own horror game, because he was obviously onto something. I think everybody thought PT was phenomenal. So it's interesting though. Rhodey mentioned Chris Roberts, and if anybody knows who that is, he's the guy who's making Star Citizen right now with like the most ridiculous Kickstarter. It's like $1 billion, whatever it is. And it's just that the scope of that game keeps expanding and expanding. And I loved Chris Roberts' games back in the day, like Wing Commander 1 through 4. Loved those games. Thought they were so much fun. So yeah, I mean, I guess if we go back far enough, we can start looking at like, is it Lord Garriott who made the Ultima games? I think maybe, yeah. I think I'd have to. I want to see what he could do in VR, because those Ultima games just get better and better as they went. But man, I've got a laundry list. I think I've got a fucking 5-page list of old game developers that I'd like to see make their way back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Next up, let's have a look here.
How about this questions. One? Electrical says, Myles, don't think I forgot about you. How are you, lad?
I'm very well. It's been another busy week. But yeah, doing good.
Okay, good talk.
I just felt like I could start treating this like a therapy session, but that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. Elvert asks, what are the chances of a new HOTAS being released simultaneously with Aces of Thunder? We only have the T-Flight 4 at the moment, and I'm personally anticipating a hardware upgrade. So HOTAS controllers, for anybody who doesn't know, hands-on throttle and stick, basically a flight stick. Something I've never cared too much about, mostly because, like, how many flight games have I really gotten into? How many have I played through the years? I can probably count them on one hand, and probably count on 1 or 2 fingers the number I cared about. And so, I'm really hoping that my racing rig gets a lot more use throughout the course of the PSVR2 lifespan. Like, I'm hoping for arcade racers and more sim racers and more everything racers. But we're trying to be as patient as possible for that. So here I am with this fucking giant racing rig taking up valuable real estate in my living room. I don't know, like, what do you do with a HOTAS? Can you just sit there and put it between your legs? I don't know.
Yeah, I had this same discussion with my community regarding when I was going to do Awesome Asteroids Let's Play, and in the week leading up, they were like, "Oh, get one of these for it," and I was looking at it, and it's like, yeah, a bit nice to have, but I was like, how many other games is this going to be? No offense to Awesome Asteroids, but like, if you're going to get a new peripheral, a hardware, you need a wealth of games to be playing it with, and also. The whole thing about, do you have it between your legs? Like, I don't play at a desk, my VR. Okay. So it was kind of the steering wheel. The reason the steering wheel works is I bought the full rig. There's something for it to be attached to. Yeah. So,
dude, I would love a modification for my rig where like the HOTAS was on the underside and the wheel was up here and you could just flip it or, perfect.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how is that not a thing? How is that not a thing? People,
quick, patent it now, Brian. Quick, we're in the stream. Just patent it now. No, none of you heard this.
No, somebody else patent it, make it, and then I'll just buy it, man. You're trying to make me do all the hard work, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, there we go. Do it.
Oh man. So yeah, I hope that there's an updated HOTAS, because the last HOTAS I tried didn't have like a lot of haptic feedback or anything like that. It felt very cheap, and so I don't know what most HOTAS feels like these days. I would love one that feels like it has the resistance that you're looking for, and the vibration and all of that, because my G29, G40, I don't even know what is it.
Dude, I don't even know what mine is.
It's been so long since I even talked about the racing rig. Like, my racing wheel feels great. Like, it adds so much to the immersion, and so I would hope that a new HOTAS would do the same and make it really, really immersive for PSVR2 games. Okay, we got IDK. Outcast with the viewer takeover questions. I've got the stock I donated about on Monday. After a few days, I've seen a vast improvement in my playing ability. I guess Gunstock. I still have a long way to go, but I'm getting there. Yes, it's a bit of a learning curve, but honestly, it was fun and challenging. Oh, sorry, and changing up the same VR first-person shooter we've always had and adding something new. I don't know if you guys talked about it, or I know you guys talked about it Monday, but I'd like to hear your thoughts after hearing how I got on, and maybe Myles and Wes's thoughts.
So, with Gunstocks, I think they look cool. I wouldn't mind trying it, but I feel like the issue I have with double-handed guns in these games is nothing to do with your ability to hold your hand steady. And an example I'll give is when I play Pavlov and I've got the sniper rifle out, I will literally lie on the floor, because that's what you do in the game, and I'll have both sense controllers resting on the floor, so I know it's dead straight. But the way the tracking is, you're always going to get a bit of that wobble, especially when you're, looking down a sniper rifle where any slight movement makes a difference. You notice the wobble even more. So what I'm saying is I'm not ruling it out. I'm really curious to hear about Gunstocks and how people are getting on.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like the issue isn't actually your ability to hold the hands. It is to do with the tracking and the slight movements. There's a lot of games at the moment that when it's double-handed guns, unless they've made it that you get a lot more kickback if you're not holding it with two hands. When I play Survive, I'm literally doing like a T-Rex arm where I keep my arm at an angle against me and I'm just looking down the red dot and I'm just doing it one-handed. I'm not using the other hand, because as soon as you hold a second hand, it's just creating a bit more wobble. And you might say, well, the gun stock will solve that. But the example I gave with Pavlov makes me think it's not to do with your hands, it's to do with the tracking.
Well, and I mean, so what the problem with tracking, and this, this goes back to the move controllers as well with light tracking, but now even with IR, it's the ability for the headset to see both controllers. And so if you are blocking part of the controllers with your hands, and then now you've added more plastic and more attachments to this, you're blocking more of the controllers. I've seen that some people who make gun stocks are working on gun stocks that are not, where the controllers don't attach underneath the piping. They actually attach on top. And so again, that plastic's now out of the way. So I'm a little curious to see how those work and see if those cause or prevent any tracking issues. So I don't know. Anyway, I haven't tried them. I've got a lot of preconceived notions about them. And I'm sure that, with just a little bit of practice, they could be a lot of fun. So and it's the same with the joystick for flight games. I'm not against these things. These are things I'd love to try out, but at the end of the day, excuse me,
you can have all these different things, and it's like it's got to make a real difference for me to have it. So yeah.
Izzard in the chat with the 2 quid says gun stocks are for those who like mods. Vanilla forever. Yeah.
Yeah, get an aim controller for PSVR2. I'd use it.
Oh yeah, just a custom-made controller. Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, I do like the freedom. Like when games get it right, Pavlov, the reloading and stuff, it feels amazing.
Yeah, and that's why like an AIM 2.0, right? Because so many people right now are so into the idea of manual reloads, which isn't something that I don't think too many people cared about on PSVR 1. But now that we have this, this better ability to play games with less tracking issues and whatever else, manual reloads are more popular than ever. So an AIM 2.0 would have to have like very much like a gun stock, detachable parts where like this is where you're holding your hands, and then you have to be able to like remove it from the AIM 2.0. So I think you're right. You're starting to run into the exact same problems.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have to see. Once I will absolutely, we'll come back to this topic as soon as I get my hands on one. It's not something I've been pursuing. So if any gun stock manufacturers out there are interested in me trying one, please let me know. Corporal Cuddles, which is just a fucking fantastic name, Myles.
Great name. Name.
After noticing that Brian must have defeated Junko, bringing hope against despair in PSVR2 world, as Monokuma is now missing from the shelf behind Brian. Oh no, Myles! Oh no! Monokuma's back! No! Sorry. I had to do it. Where would you stand on a full Danganronpa game? Dyschronia was enjoyable, but visual novels don't seem to translate too well to VR. But then I played the Class Trial VR demo again and realized I'm kind of craving a full VR Danganronpa experience. I feel like when Danganronpa came around, they kind of like took visual novels and kicked them all in the ass and said, "Wake the fuck up! This is how you do it right? You got to implement more gameplay elements into your game. Otherwise, you're just pushing a button for fucking 9 hours straight." And so I think there's enough gameplay in the Danganronpa games that I'd kill for those games in VR. I think that'd be. What's the name of the school? Is it Peaks Hope? It was just a cool environment, really cool characters, and just super creepy. You never knew when you were going to stumble onto another dead body. So yeah, I haven't been a huge fan of most visual novels that I've played since the last Danganronpa game I played. Although I should say I haven't played Danganronpa 3 yet. I haven't gotten around to it. Haven't had the time. But it's sitting in my Vita waiting for me to play it. So there's that. Yep. You a fan of visual novels, Myles?
I mean, I wouldn't say I dislike them. I haven't played many lately, but I definitely need to.
Yeah.
Is Dyschronia a visual novel?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, and luckily those have gotten better through time. Tokyo Chronos was, just terrible as far as I was concerned. Really did not utilize VR at all. We got more questions, Myles? I know we've been at this for a little while here, but I just want to make sure that...
I think that's it.
That
is it.
That's it, yeah. Man. All right, perfect. Guys,
well done, everyone.
We do these viewer takeover specials on occasion and try to, clear out some of the backlog of viewer takeover questions. So if you're not already a member of our Discord, make sure you click the link in the description below and join us over there. So that way you can get your question in on the show whenever you feel like it. Myles, we got a game of 20 questions to probably do before this is done, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got my notebook.
I've thought of something, by the way. But while you get the clock ready, I'm just going to go grab something. 1 second.
Kato in the chat says, "I don't have patience for visual novels. Gameplay is king." Yeah, I'm sort of with you, and I'm wondering if I should second guess what I just said about visual novels, because Myles had something behind his back. Do you see that? He had something behind his back. I wonder what it was. There's still a lot of conversations in Danganronpa where you're just like clicking buttons and you're just waiting, going through text, and then eventually be like, okay. I think when you're playing on a Vita, something portable, it's kind of easier to manage that much dialogue. When you're sitting in VR, I feel like maybe I'm alone on this. Maybe other people can help out. Do you lose patience in VR more than you would playing a flat screen game? Like if you're playing a flat screen game, or if you're playing something on a portable, you can also have the TV on in the background, or you can listen to a podcast or listen to music or something. In VR, I feel like it's sort of, you're just in there, right? You get the headphones on and like you are in that world. And so I feel like I lose patience faster in VR. Meaning, like, if characters just talk too much, you're like, come on, dude, let me get fucking back to this, because there's not this other distraction keeping you like, okay. So I don't know. Be curious. Yeah.
You ready for 20 questions, Brian? You got 20 questions ready?
Oh, sure. Guys, make sure you help me out, because I've just forgotten every single PSVR game that was ever made. We have 20 yes or no questions and only 6 minutes on the clock to figure out what game Myles is thinking of. I really hope this is not a deep dive, but if it is, I probably deserve it. On your mark, get Des. Go. Is this game on PSVR 1, Myles?
No.
Okay, so we're going to go PSVR 2 only. Is this a puzzle game?
No.
You have to think long and hard about that.
It's late here.
Nick Mulo in the chat says, does Myles have a physical merch for this game behind his back?
No. 3.
Okay.
That's such a good one.
Well, I don't know. We don't know what you brought up. Tech Noir VR asks if it's a horror game.
No. 4.
Was this developed by Fast Travel Games?
No. 5.
Is it a shooter? Asks Silver Nexus.
No. No. Oh man. No, it's not. It's not a shooter as you would think of as a shooter. 6.
Is it narrative driven?
No. 7.
Now I want to point out something here, you guys. The last time Myles and I played this game, every question I answered yes to. So far, he has answered every question with a no. So,
but then that would just be never end. Because then you say, "Is it this game?" No.
No.
Sorry, I just said I was going to say no to anything you said. Yeah. Right. I was thinking about doing the yes thing this week. But I'll do that next week instead.
Is this game part of a series?
No.
Is this game based on an existing IP?
No.
Is there multiplayer?
No. 10.
I'm just going to say he's answered no to everything so far. I'm going to tell you guys right now. Can't be Awesome Asteroids because that was on PSVR 1. Okay, yeah, I like where Virtual Strangers and Stevie Dan's going. Is this an esport of any kind?
No. 11.
Okay. Electrical Blast says, is it realistic?
No, it's not. 12.
We already asked if it's horror, right? Yeah, we said no to horror. Bogey Cat asking if it's a good game. Is it a good game?
I mean, I would say it was a good game, yeah. But I'll go one further. It's just to give you a bit more clarity. It wouldn't have made it into our top 25, so it's not like a contender. But it was good.
Okay. Does this game have teleportation?
No. 14.
Not a puzzle game, you guys.
No, I wouldn't say it's a puzzle game.
Did this developer make PSVR 1 games?
No, I don't think so.
This is crazy.
I'm definitely on a wind up. I'm not on a wind up.
Tentacular is definitely a puzzle game, Stike. Do you swing a bat in this game? Or maybe 2 bats?
No, 16.
Ooh, Red City Gaming asked, was it a PSVR2 launch game?
No, 17.
We're eliminating a lot of games. It can't be Before Your Eyes, Drats, because he said it's not narrative driven. Runner did make the top 25, Silver Nexus, right? So that can't be it. Is this game also playable outside of VR?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. But let me just check.
Is it a rhythm game?
No, I wouldn't say so. 19. And just to let you know, someone very early on got this game. So someone in the chat has got it.
Oh, good. We're not allowed to scroll back. That's excellent.
No.
Okay. All right. Everyone in the chat is saying Masternoid. And since, but Masternoid, all you're doing is shooting. Is it Masternoid?
It is Masternoid.
What? You have a gun in that game.
But you're slingshotting bullets. That's what I was like. It's not a shooter as you would think of as a shooter.
No, you're right.
You're not. It's more like Pong, and maybe that was why I felt a bit weird about it. But you don't shoot bullets, you like bounce them back, don't you? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can shoot it if you want to. You can just shoot the ball, but you can also do the whip.
Or maybe that's a starting point. Okay.
No, is it a shooter? No, it's not. You're right. No. I'm being very picky here. Flame Hat apparently was the one who said it very early.
Flame Hat was first with it.
Congratulations, Flame Hat.
Yeah.
This is a game I've been meaning to get back to. I mean, I know we've got like a shit ton of games on our plate right now, but this is one that I enjoyed my time with. I kind of was hoping it would be like a $6.99, $7.99 game. I think it's 15, but I really enjoyed this one when I played it. So,
and would you say it's a puzzler?
I mean,
because for me,
no,
you're not I think of it. You're not solving puzzles. Like a puzzler is like you have to do mental. Like I guess you could say you have to work out like the best way, but you're not. You're just
I mean, I think there's two different types of puzzles. There's like logic puzzles, right? There's two different like logic games, like where you're solving puzzles in an environment, and then there's other types of puzzle games where it's just Tetris and like the game is a puzzle.
Right.
This is like Breakout. This is like Arkanoid, and those were never puzzle games. Those were just arcade games. But
this is what I love about these conversations afterwards is people's perceptions of what games are and not. Like, oh, it's technically but yeah,
right. Like,
and
Looper
as for a good game, Brian, you had a good time with it.
Yeah. Like again, unfortunately, just because of the scope of this game, like I don't think it would ever make a top 25.
Oh no.
But I mean, unless it gets like crazy more fun and like I couldn't put this thing down, it was amazing, I love it. Like in that case, like we'd make exceptions because Beat Saber doesn't have extremely a huge scope to it either, but that game is always going to be on our top 25 list.
One of my favorite things about Masternoid is the fact that you have like a shape that you've obviously got to break apart.
Yeah.
And as you're hitting balls off it, the actual massive shape itself does start rotating. So it's not just a static thing that you're hitting, it will rotate. And I remember asking the devs at the time saying, have you got like this parameter of like it only rotates a little bit? And they were like, no, if you keep hitting it in a certain way, it will do a full 360. So I think that's kind of cool. Like it's an example of games where they add things to it that aren't necessary, but are kind of nice little quirky things that just do add to the immersion. Like if you're in a 3D space, to actually see the full thing moving is cool. But I know I had a good time with it.
It's funny because Looper in the chat asked if what the fuck game was it? Oh, come on. It was the one that we used the aim controller in.
Oh, you're talking about Boxed In? Is it Boxed In? That was it.
Yeah, he was saying, is that a puzzle game? And I absolutely think that's a puzzle game.
That is a puzzle game.
Even though it looks similar to this, right? But it plays more like a Tetris game. And so, yeah, I think it's funny because it'd be exactly, Boxed In. Thank you, guys.
If Masternoid was you had more control over the ball, like if you had to shoot each block in a certain order, then it would be both a shooter and a puzzle game.
Yeah, definitely one that I don't know if it defies genres, but I'm just going to go with arcade for this one. Dude, unbelievable how many questions. I just stopped even writing down the questions that I had asked. It's not a shooter, not narrative driven, not made by Fast Travel, not a horror game.
Right.
Yeah, not a puzzle game. PSVR2 only. Yep. I mean, yeah, this was.
But I will always hesitate on questions where I feel there could be confusion later down the line. And the two I hesitated on was, is it a shooter and is it a puzzle game? Yeah. And I was just like, no, but I can sort of see it. So at those moments, and I think that's actually where Flame Hat sort of got it, because it was just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I am going to get back to this one. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We've got a little bit of a gap here. I think this weekend is kind of a bit of a gap. Waiting on VR Skater keys, which is actually coming out later next week. And
can't wait to play that.
Dude, I can't wait to get my hands on it, like the final build, because there's a lot to learn. It's easy to learn, hard to master. And I'd almost
I should practice that before a Let's Play for a bit, just so.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say easy to learn, hard to master, but on top of that, not very easy to learn. Like,
yeah,
I think
hard to learn, even harder to master.
Yeah, easy to get into, hard to learn, very hard to master. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I think a lot of people have dismissed VR Skater and just said, "Oh, it's not like these open environments where you can just skate anywhere." Like that's what I want in a VR. That's what I want in a VR skating game. It's like cool. So does that mean you're going to just ignore the only skateboard game we're getting for VR in the foreseeable future? Because I don't think you should, right? I had so much fun playing this game, and it's very seldom that I play a game where I fail and fail and fail and fail and fail over and over and over again, but I always just want to get back up and try it again. It's like real skating that way.
Speaking of failing and wanting to try again, a game that I've spent a lot more time on lately is the Light Brigade. That was a game because you have different classes that you play as, and I kind of like it. You have to get to rank 5 of a class before you can go on to the next one. So it encourages you to try them all out. And the default one is the rifleman. I could never. I think I played. I can't remember how many attempts I did. Maybe 5-6 attempts on the main campaign, and I think the last 2 times I got to the first boss. And I just, or 3 times, I couldn't beat it. So I then thought I'll try the next class, which was the Scout, which is like an SMG. And I thought, this game, you want longer range. I played it with the Scout, and it might be because I got lucky with certain loadouts and that. I went on to not just beat the first boss, not just the second, but I beat the entire game.
With the Scout,
and I was just like, yeah, as the Scout, I couldn't believe it.
Sounds on my end.
I thought, great, this is a game I might go for the platinum, dude. These 2 trophies in the Light Brigade have made me go, well, the first one is going to be, that's a real challenge. I might give it a go, which is you've got to complete the game without missing once. But there's a harder trophy, which is you've got to complete the game by only doing headshots.
Yeah. You can cheat that, right? That's how everybody got that trophy.
I don't know. What's the cheat?
You can fuck with the floor settings, and you can basically exist underneath the world in that game, and so you just shoot someone in the head and you run to the end of the level.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so I'll do that then.
And that's where like everybody. I'm not sure if there's any legit achievers of that trophy, unfortunately.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, we don't do it for legit. We just do it for the trophy. So that's why I'll be doing it.
It's all about all about the hunt, man. It's all about the hunt, right,
dude? I just find that it's amazing. Like, trophies are the thing that I think annoys me about games in one way or another. It's like, I like a game. So like Synapse, great example. End Dreams had a really horrific trophy, but I think was fine to put in Fract, which was you've got to complete the entire game without dying once. Mm-hmm. And that's a brutal trophy. And I'm like, I think that is like the top end of like difficulty. And I'm like, and that's good. So if the Light Brigade was like, you got to complete it all without taking damage, for example, that would be a tough one and a good one to go for. But Synapse was like, I got the platinum trophy and I hadn't even completed the game.
Yeah.
Same. And I thought, I kind of feel like that needs to be a part of the trophy list.
Yeah.
And then there's just been a lot of games where there's no platinum trophies, and I know it's not down to the devs. And I'm just like, I just keep thinking about Platty Birds and all these trash games that get the, oh, we've got a game called Platty Birds that you can platinum in like 10 minutes. Can we get, PlayStation, like Jim Ryan's like, yep, stamp that. That's good.
Right.
And then there's all these great games that don't get the platinum trophies. Yeah, that one for Light Brigade, I'd want to do it legitimately, but headshots only. I mean, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. We like even the Room VR Dark Matter. It's like there's some difficult puzzles in there, right? Like that game's going to take you probably 5 hours the first time, and it would be like, sure, don't give the platinum to people who use the cheat system or the hint system. It's not a cheat system; it's a hint system. But like, I mean, there's no platinum in there. It's like that game. I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of game I would want to platinum. And I mean, I guess there's not a ton of secrets in there and stuff. So it would literally be, hey, I finished the game, give me the trophy. But I don't know.
Across the Valley, we were joking about last week. So I'm on day 70 in it, and I've just like upgraded the farm max out. I now need to just buy more farm animals. Like you literally can buy like at that point I had like 5 of each. You can buy another 5 of each, which I don't understand how you can have enough food in it for them, but you need that to max out. There's no platinum trophy, and I'm just like, again, you know, that would have been a great platinum because that's one that you got to grind for. So, but one game, and I'd love to know if anyone can help me with this. Unplugged air guitar. None of the trophies have popped on it, so I don't know if anyone's aware of a trophy glitch. I'll send the devs a message, but there's very like simple trophies on it, like complete all the challenges on the first like campaign bit, which I've done. I'm on like the 4th one now, and no trophies have popped. So yeah, trophy talk,
right? It's gonna get back to TV talk because I want to talk more about From, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. This was a much longer episode than anticipated, but I appreciate all the viewer takeover questions. Appreciate all the tips. Thank you, everybody who helps this channel run, including all of our mods. Everybody who supports the channel by financially, dude, my brain is so done. Financially over here by being a member or on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. What did you run off and get, by the way?
My pillow. This is the pillow. Look. Everyone was asking about it. Look, that's it. That's the your head just goes in there.
Oh, is that how you use it? I was so confused.
But look, this is the one that goes between your legs. So you put one leg through there, and then you rest on it, and that's it.
Yeah, I'll go between your legs.
Technology. Isn't technology amazing?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It's always the thing. Every week we have some weird convo at the beginning, and it filters through the entire day, whether it's about beavers or it's about the French or pillows. But this is why I love the chat, because the what the chat says is valuable.
I mean, the chat is always doing their own thing, man. Like, it doesn't matter what we're talking about; they're having their own conversation. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go back and watch these episodes, but like I have for various reasons to like look for specific timestamps for specific portions of something, and if I stop and actually watch for a couple minutes, it's way more fun to watch the show with the chat on. So all of you out there who are listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening to it in podcast format. However, I feel like you're missing out because the chat is easily more entertaining than we are. Again, thank you everybody who watches and supports the channel. Thank you to everybody who tipped during the show, supports us on Patreon, supports us here as a member, all my mods, all Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, J Meow, and everyone who sat back, watched the show, didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there and we love you just as much. Say something.
Something.
Perfect. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
Ruthless Metal says, screw the stream, let's talk about beavers. Yeah, I don't...
Man, beavers are good, man.
Yeah. Oh, I got a notification from Amazon.
Whoa.
I wonder what it could be. Yep. But my mixing bowls are going to show up soon.
I would say, though, if anyone's ever considering getting a new pillow, just, you might want to sleep on it first. That one made you laugh. You only laugh when you're not on camera. When you're on camera, it's like I'm doing a deadpan, and you do it so well. It's my favorite thing every week.
Oh, people don't get it, man. People don't get that I'm just playing the straight man.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love it.
It goes back. It goes all the way back to the Midnight Gamescast because Jeremy and Michelle used to goof off so much that you needed a straight man then. So I just took the hit, and everyone's like, "How come this guy's not having any fun?" And I was like, "How come you're not having any fun?" Just trying to have fun. Yeah, GC13 mixing bowls. Yep. Listen, I might cook. I have all sorts of secrets you don't know about. My only secret is that I cook. Don't tell anyone. Good night, everybody. We love you.
Night.